Τέλεια, παιδιά. Λοιπόν, γράψτε μου ένα-ένα μέσα στο chat, εάν μπορείς να με δεις και να με ακούσεις. Γράψτε μου ένα-ένα μέσα στο chat, εάν μπορείς να με δεις και να με ακούσεις. Nice. Λοιπόν, παιδιά, ανοίξατε τις κάμερες σας. Έχουμε μαζί μας έναν ειδικό προσκεκλημένο που του έχω τεράστιο respect. Okay. Είναι έναν άτομο, για να είμαι ειλικρινής, το οποίο ξεκίνησε μέσα στην Ακαδημία μας, δεν είχε καμία ιδέα από trading, cryptos, networking. Αυτή τη συγκεκριμένη στιγμή έχει εξαψήφια από εσάς στο cryptocurrencies portfolio της, είναι fully funded trader, είναι platinum 5.000 μέσα στην Ακαδημία μας. Και σήμερα θα μας δείξει στην ουσία πώς και τη στρατηγική την οποία χρησιμοποιεί για cryptocurrencies trading. Okay? Είναι μια στρατηγική την οποία τις τελευταίες εβδομάδες πάρα πολλοί μαθητές μας χρησιμοποιούν. Η συγκεκριμένη γυναίκα ασχολείται με αυτή τη στρατηγική εδώ και ένα χρόνο. Με αυτή τη στρατηγική έγινε funded, με αυτή τη στρατηγική πάρα πολλοί ανθρώποι έγιναν funded μέσα στην ομάδα της και θα μας δείξει σήμερα πώς το έχει καταφέρει. Okay? Έχει ένα οργανισμό αυτή τη συγκεκριμένη στιγμή πάνω από 500 μαθητές, είναι σχεδόν chairwoman 10. So, για να τις κάνουμε την κατάλληλη εισαγωγή, καταρχάς εννοαξύ, πάρτε ένα notepad, μία μπέντα για σημειώσεις, και για να τις κάνουμε το κατάλληλο introduction, θέλω να μου γράψεις μέσα στο chat chairwoman 10 για να υποδεχτούμε την Mandy Rose. Γράψτε μέσα στο chat chairwoman 10 για την Mandy Rose. Mandy, the stage is yours. I'm gonna mute myself, make you host, and you take over.
Okay, there we are. I couldn't unmute for a second. Awesome. Can you guys hear me? Everybody can hear me and see me. Amazing, guys. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to help you guys to go over something that I've become very passionate about in the last couple of months, which is the Swipecoin scalper. And so I'm going to be running a training with you guys that is going to be very interactive. It's going to be very open for any questions that you guys have. If you guys feel like at any point you have a question that you want to ask me, feel free to stop me. But before we really go into actually breaking down the scalper, actually going through and using the products, I'm going to give you guys a step-by-step guide, which you guys can keep after this to give you kind of a reminder. I know a lot of you have been studying Sean. I love to study Sean and Nick Gomez when it comes to really learning this stuff. And I recently was able to become a funded trader, and a huge part of that reason was because of the Swipecoin scalper and how emotionless I know that it is. I started to looking at it very differently, making sure that I was following certain rules that I hadn't been following, making sure that my emotions didn't mess up my judgment for trading. And so I want all of you guys, before I jump into the actual markets and using the scalper, I want you guys to make a commitment to yourself, maybe even write this down on your paper, to go into the markets with zero emotion. Okay, you want to go into the markets with zero emotion. I know it sounds easier to say than to do, right? You understand that when you allow fear in your trading, you'll lose confidence, you'll lose excitement, you'll lose trust, and all you'll have is doubt, right? So it's really important that you go into the markets with zero emotion. I was kind of trying to become a jack of all trades within this opportunity rather than mastering one thing, one strategy, one product. And I decided that if I was going to master one thing, it was going to be the most profitable, the most accurate thing we had on the platform, which is the Swipecoin scalper. So trading isn't about anybody else but you, right? It's not about everyone else. It's about you. And so trading is you, but it's also you versus your emotions and your discipline. It's not versus you and me. It's not versus you and Sean or you and Crypto Picasso. It's versus you and your emotions and your discipline. And so when I learned to discipline my emotions, guys, whether I won or lost, I was able to learn how to trust myself and stay calm in the markets, becoming a logical instead of an emotional person in the markets is very important. And so everybody that's on this call, remember that good things, They happen over time, not overnight. Okay. They happen over time, not overnight. And so the goal is for you to not emotionally trade, because the markets will humble you. Type a 1 in the chat if this has ever happened to you. You emotionally traded and the markets came and they showed you who was boss, right? They showed you who was boss. Yeah, me too. So our goal is to help you guys to become consistently profitable and, withdraw, where our goal is help you withdraw. And so you want to ask yourself 2 questions before I jump into this training. Are you hoping or are you trusting your trade's outcome? That's the first question. Are you hoping or are you trusting your trade's outcome? Because when you're hoping and not trusting, you'll tend to become disappointed, right? And the second thing is the most important. Do you know your risk to reward before going in? Okay, we're going to talk about that. So the scalper, right? I love this scalper. I'm going to actually give you guys some notes that Nick Gomez gave me. So hold on one second. Let me open up my whiteboard. Let me write these down. That way I'm not just reading them to you guys, but you guys could actually follow along with me. Boom. Okay. So, all right. So my goal when I'm using the scalper is to use the scalper for faster trades, right? The scalper is not for intraday trades. The scalper is not for you to hold for a month. The scalper has the word scalp in it. Okay. So you're looking to get in and out fast. Now, what's really cool about the scalper, and these are actually exact notes from a Nick Gomez training. So feel free to screenshot them. I could send them, write them down so you understand them. So anybody who's never used a scalper, or even if you have, you know that there's 2 pairs called out, Ethereum and Bitcoin. Very simple. And what I love about this, for those of you guys that are building the business, is this allows you to keep it super simple for the brand new person. Everybody that comes into my business that is just working on DCX, the only 2 pairs that they have are Ethereum and Bitcoin. Why? Because for the brand new person, when they're looking at 50 different pairs, it's very difficult for them to master one. So what I love is that for me, my stop loss will never exceed 100 pips. In fact, you guys, I'm really trying to get a stop loss of 50 pips or less. Anytime your stop loss, you're looking to put it more than 100 pips, tell yourself, this is not a trade for the scalper. It should never exceed 100 pips, okay? Now, my take profit usually ranges anywhere from 60 to 120, but I've caught close to 120 all the way up to 500 pips on the scalper. For you, it's really just dependent on your lot size, how much is in your account, on really where you're trying to take this this goal, what your goal for taking the market is. Nick Gomez actually said that this is one of the most powerful tools DCX has, and it's an algorithm, right? Meaning that this is an artificial intelligence that's looking for patterns in the market, that's looking for different times that the market has repeated itself. You guys may hear this on a training. You'll hear people say the markets are fractal. And that word used to always confuse me. Like, what does fractal mean? What they're saying is that what you see on a 4-hour is what you can find on a 4-minute. What they're saying is that when you drop down from bigger time frames to smaller time frames, you're seeing patterns. And your goal, in addition to the scalper, is to recognize those patterns. Now, statistically, the scalper is about 75 to 80% accurate if you know how to use it. For anybody that is like, hey, like I took a loss, like what's going on with this scalper? It's not 100%. Nobody in trading, nothing in trading is 100%. So there are going to be losses. And that's why it's very important for us. It's really, really important for us to make sure we understand our risk to reward going in. Okay. So I wanted to give you guys a couple little just notes that I had taken. The last thing that I do want to mention, and actually let me actually write this up here for you guys, is this is something that I really love, is that the scalper is not these things. Okay. The scalper is not emotional. The scalper is not Nick Gomez. He's not an actual human. So they have no type of bias in the market. The scalper is a robot. Don't be mad at the robot. Okay. If the robot doesn't always give you the right thing, but understand how to utilize the robot. Give the artificial intelligence is giving you positions on 2 different trades. And so our goal is to take less trades and profit more. Okay. So I actually put together a slideshow for you guys because I'm a very visual learner. And we're going to go over it. And then I'm going to make sure all of you guys have this so that you can study this with your team. You can retrain your team on this. You can get together on trade night with all of the people that you're working with, and you guys can become more profitable. Okay. And actually, let's do something before we actually pull this up. Let me actually go to the scalper and let's actually look at the scalper before we pull things up. Okay. So all of us know that in order for us to get to the scalper, we got to log on to IM.Center, right? You have to have a DCX or an elite package to have access. If anybody on this call has been focusing solely on FRX or TBX, I recommend that you purchase Swipecoin so that you have access to the scalper no matter what. Okay. No matter what. Stop loss, you put it above or below structure. And if the stop loss is higher than 100 pips, you do not take it. Yes, sir. And I'm going to go over that exactly with you. If the stop loss, if I feel like I need a stop loss that's bigger than 100 pips, I don't take the trade. There's a lot of trades where I'm like, oh, this isn't really worth it for me. I know when you're brand new, you kind of want to take everything though. Okay. So boom, I'm opening up the scalper now. Wow. Look at that, that buy that was called. I missed that. I was at a graduation, dinner. So I missed this, which was beautiful. Oh my goodness. Okay. 21 hours ago, Bitcoin called out this beautiful buy. And if you would have taken it, then you would have been, let's see. You would have been, let's say you took it at the end of the break in structure, at the very, very top of it, 159 pips in profit, which is a good day if you ask me. Now let's look at Ethereum. Okay. So Ethereum was called out, same thing. So this is something that I personally use as an extra confirmation for me. Have you guys noticed when the big moves happen with Ethereum and Bitcoin, they happen together? Type yes in the chat if you've noticed that. Type no if you've never noticed that. Have you guys ever noticed that when Bitcoin's about to do a big move up or Ethereum's about to do, okay. So an extra confirmation for me is the 2 currencies being called out, the same thing being called out on both currencies. That's an extra confirmation for me. Okay. Now I'm going to go through all of the very technical aspects. Somebody said no. Okay, cool. I'm going to go over just some of the very technical aspects. But before I do, let me explain to you guys how I first was able to learn about the scalper without learning about EMAs, super trends. What else do they call out on here? You need the break and close. Well, I learned that, but EMAs and super trends, when I first learned this, I wasn't trading with them. Okay. But it is very important. And I'm going to show you guys how to trade with them. When I was brand new to the scalper, because I didn't know I really didn't know too much about it. I was trying to train myself to determine a couple things. Okay. The first thing that I was trying to train myself to see was what the arrow, was I buying or selling? Okay. And I will say, like, when you guys are bringing new people into the organization and you're teaching them about EMAs and super trend first day, you might scare them or frustrate them because they feel like they don't understand it. They might feel like it's just too hard, and so they don't even try it. So the only thing that I was looking for was this. I was looking for if I was buying or selling. I was waiting for the break and close in structure, right? Depending if it was a buy or sell. It would depend if it was above or below. And then I was understanding my risk to reward using either the short position or the long position tool. This is all I was doing initially. Okay. So, and the reason I'm going to go over this with you guys before I go over my actual training is because there's some of you guys on this call that haven't got past the first stage. So you haven't even tried to use the EMAs as an extra confirmation. This 3-step system that I was using was allowing me to train my eye to see the basics in the market. Okay, so the first things first is I was looking at if I was buying or selling in the market. Okay, if I was buying, I was going to get an up arrow. If I was selling, I was going to get a down arrow. So can somebody in the chat tell me what was the last arrow that was called on both of the trades on Bitcoin and Ethereum? What was the last arrow that was called out? Was it a buy arrow or a sell arrow? the last arrow that was called. Cool, 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 cool. Awesome, buy. Now, for some of you guys that are brand new that are like, I don't know how to say that. If you see an up blue arrow, that is indicating a buy. If you see a down sell, that or down red arrow, that is indicating a sell. Okay, so up, buy, down, sell, easy. Another way for me to remember it is right next to the actual trade. So Ethereum, you'll see it's either blue or it's red. If it's blue, oh dang, I erased all my little instructions. That's okay. If it's blue, then you'll be buying it. If it's red, then you'll be selling it. Okay. Now that was the first thing I needed to determine. Was I going to buy it or was I going to sell it? Okay. Sorry. I know some of you guys are probably using that. So arrow, determine, buy or sell with the arrow. Okay. Boom. We know how to do that. Now, the next thing was I needed to determine a break and close in structure, where a lot of people struggle. This is actually pretty simple. And then 3, I was determining my risk to reward. Okay, I forgot that when you move off of, if you drop something on SwipeCoin and then you move from Ethereum to Bitcoin, your markup is gone. So be very mindful of that. Okay, so the first thing was we got a buy arrow yesterday night. Now, the next thing that it was really important that I learned was I needed to understand the anatomy of a candle. Okay, a candle is made up of 2 things. Okay, does anybody know what those 2 things are? Drop it in the chat if you understand what the 2 things that a candle has been made up of. Yep, a body and a wick. There you go. And so I like to call wicks fake outs on my team. I always tell my team, I'm like, that's just a fake out, man. It's just a fake out. Whenever you see a wick, I'm like, that's a fake out. Right. And so I'm really looking for a break and close, meaning I'm looking for this area. I'm going to point to it in 2 different directions. Let me grab one more, guys. I'm a very visual learner, so I have to teach you guys the way I learn. Otherwise, if people are just teaching me really fast, I'm like, huh? Well, where did I miss? Okay. So on a candle, right, you have 2 things. You have a body and you have wicks. And I know for some of you guys, this might seem very basic. And for others, you're like, oh, thank God someone's going over this. So let's just stay together really quick. Okay, so body is this big area here. And these little lines over here are wicks. Now it's telling you the second step each time you open up the scalper. If it's a buy, it'll say break and close above. If it's a sell, it'll say break and close below. Okay, break and close, what does that mean? That means that when you see an area that's highlighted like this one, this is what's considered a zone. Okay, so this is your zone. Boom. Okay, and our goal is to get one candle to break through that zone and close in this scenario above the area. If it was a sell, we would want it to close below. Mandy, what's considered a close though? It's considered a break and close when the entire candle has gotten through that zone and closed above it, meaning it can't close in it. So let's bring our attention over here to where the trade was called out. I'm going to zoom in pretty closely. Okay, so here's the arrow. We see that this little green candle did break into that zone, but we didn't see the candle close above that zone. In fact, it was just a little fake out with that wick. So that does not count. Okay, so we're still waiting for the confirmation. We have not got our second confirmation. Second thing is we have this little baby candle here that did break. And some might argue with me that it did close above. I'm going to say, let's zoom. My team loves to argue with me like, that's a break and close. And I'm like, I'm waiting for the next one. Okay, so here's one, right? And technically, this can be considered because, man, it just missed it, but it broke and closed right above that zone. So technically, that would count. But I'll be honest, if it was me, I would have waited for this area. Now, mind you, if you were like, hey, this is all I needed, and you got in here, you did see profit right away, but you got a little bit of down draw. And so here, if you would have entered here, you would have received no down draw. And so that's why I would have waited for this break and close. Now, okay, this candle is actually giving me the confirmation. So this is my guy. That's my friend right there. That guy. He's the one. Okay. Now he's given me the break and close and structure, but now I need to figure out on my own the risk to reward. So that's my break and close, which means that I'm going to go for a buy in this market. And this is where the self-sufficiency comes into play. This is where everybody kind of struggles with the scalper because we're taught in the beginning to copy and paste. So there's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. We're just copying the numbers. Here, you're being taught to become the person that's giving out the setup, right? So it's a little bit different. So there's two positions. There's a long position and a short position tool. And this is what my team remembers. Short equals sell, long equals buy. If I tell you go buy, if I tell you to go buy it, you're gonna, go long, you're gonna buy it. So short position tool or long position. That's what you're gonna use, right? And one of them, let me make this a little smaller, boom. So short is gonna equal sell and long is gonna equal buy, which means that if I'm looking to buy the market, I'm gonna use what? Can someone write in the chat, am I gonna use the short position or the long position tool? Short position or the long position tool? Long, okay, awesome. Okay, cool. All right, awesome. So now our goal is to determine our risk to reward. So right above that candle where it closed is gonna be my entry area. And now it's time to determine risk to reward. And this is where everybody usually struggles. Struggles. So what I like to tell my team to do is this. I like to tell my team to look at it in a different light. When they're marking up their support and resistance, when they're marking up their long position, they want to look at support and resistance. They want to look at what the market has done in the past, and they want to take their stop loss right below previous structure. So actually where the stop loss is right now is pretty valid. So 34 pips. I'm actually someone who's very conservative. So even though I gave you guys that note in the beginning, based on what Nick Gomez says, he said 100 pip stop loss max. For me, I'm a very conservative trader. I'm looking at 30 to 50 pips, but that's not to say that you couldn't catch a really big move with a bigger stop loss. I just personally like to have a tighter stop loss. I would rather get taken out 5 times with a tighter stop loss than catch the move with a bunch of down draw. So for me, you're normally going to see me taking my stop loss anywhere from 34 pips to about 50. And 50 would actually be a great place too, because you can actually place it right below this previous support level here. My mentor, CJ Garmin, he trained us when we first, this is something he learned off Go Live. When we started to mark up charts, instead of looking at candles, to look at the line tool, and to actually look for V's in the market. So what that means is to look for areas that have a very sharp V, either right side up, right, or down if you were looking for support levels. Resistance levels, boom. So if I'm looking for V's in the market, he's telling me mark up those as your strong levels of support and resistance. So let's say I kept marking them up. Let's say that this is another one. So essentially, my point in showing you this is you have to use SRTs. You have to use support, resistance, and trend lines when you're determining your risk to reward, okay? You have to try to see, okay, if I'm gonna take it back to, let's actually leave it here. To, let's say this is a resistance area, right? Why? Because look at the top of that line where it touches that V. That's a resistance area. This is also a resistance area, okay? So let's say that my risk to reward was, 53 pips to gain 100 pips. I like that risk to reward. It's a 1 to 2. I will never enter a trade that's less than 1 to 2. Like I don't trade 30 for 30 pips. I won't do a 30 pip stop loss for a 30 pip gain. If I'm gonna do a 30 pip stop loss, there's gonna be a 60 pip gain minimum. Okay, meaning that for every dollar I'm risking, I should be able to gain 2 so that I can be profitable here. I know this is starting to look really ugly, right? But it's okay. I'm here to make it make sense, not make it cute. Okay, so in this setup, the reason that I would have chosen this 53 pip stop loss in comparison to something a little bit deeper is because personally for me, This is a strong level of support. And if the market's calling out a buy and it gets past these 50 pips, then I'm looking to reassess the market. My take profit would have been here because of that support level here. You guys see that strong, resistance level here. So this would have been the reason that I would have marked up the trade to go about 109 pips. So we'll leave this here. We'll come back to it. Let's go through, now that we've kind of broken that down in a very basic way, because I'll be honest with you, that is a very, the way that I just went over with you guys was a very like basic beginner's way of explaining how to use the scalper. For anybody that's a leader on the call, I would suggest that you teach your team in steps. You teach them like, hey, just look for the arrow, look for the break and close, enter your risk to reward. And then when they start understanding that, you can then go into the more technicals, okay? The more technicals. So, all right, we're gonna go, let me go, boom. So there's 4 steps, okay? There's actually 4 steps in the way that Sean teaches. So I'd like for you guys to write this down. I actually study Sean very, very closely. I like the Monday sessions. For anybody that wants to get on with him on Monday, he goes over things a lot more basic than his Thursday sessions, I think. They're a lot more advanced. But in his sessions, he teaches that there's four things you want to look for. Number 1, he actually does what I just did, and he changes his candles to line to help you to perform step 3 correctly. Okay, so he always has his candle chart on a line chart. Number 2 is he figures out where the 50 EMA is. Okay, we're going to talk about that right now so you guys can understand that. Number 3, he identifies his nearest support if it's a sell or his nearest resistance if it's a buy. And if the market has touched that area 3 times, he makes it a confirmation. And the 4th step is the super trend. Okay, so when I just marked up the support and resistance areas for you guys, what Sean normally does is he'll go back to that support and resistance area and he'll count and make sure there's at least 3 touches for that to be a valid level of support or resistance, okay? Okay, so step 1, we are going to change the candles to lines, okay? And like I said, I wanna train everybody that's on this call to look at the V's in the market and see those as very strong levels of support or resistance, okay? The V's in the market, whether they be right side up or upside down, right? Those are very strong levels of support and resistance in the market. So it's important that while you're learning about EMAs and the super trend and all these extra confirmations, that you can also be a very basic, simplified SRT trader, support, resistance, trend lines. Do you know where the support levels are? Do you know where the resistance levels are? And can you spot when there's a trend in the market, either up or down, right? So step 1 is change the candles to line chart. Very, very simple on the actual scalper. I just showed you guys how to do that. Okay. Step 2 is you have to find out where the EMA line is. Okay. So your EMA line might not be yellow. You might have put it to be a different color, but you'll see it. I mean, on your chart, if you do not see it, you'll definitely want to turn it on. Most everybody has it on the scalper, but if you're looking at like TradingView or whatever, make sure that you have it. I will say that like, I don't like to trade using the scalper from my phone. Personally, I just don't feel like you can see enough. Not to say that you can't do it, but I'm the type of person that when I'm going to use the scalper, my laptop is open, TradingView is open, the scalper is open, and I'm looking at that 50 EMA line. So right now we were just looking for a buy, right? We were looking for a buy. So the 50 EMA would need to be below the market, so under it, in order for it to confirm that it could be a buy. Now you'll see in this example that this is a sell. It called out a giant sell in the market. And the EMA is actually above where price is, okay? So here's the market. And what do I mean by above? If you look at the EMA, it is actually above, right? Rather than back here below this area. So this would have given you the confirmation for the sell, right? The 50 EMA was above for the sell. And then right now that everybody was just looking at the buy example on Ethereum, you would have needed that to be behind it for the buy, okay? Now, step 3 is very simple. We all need to understand support and resistance levels, okay? So step 3 is you're gonna identify your nearest support for a sell or your nearest resistance for a buy. And that's what I really just did. And I'll go back and show you guys that again. But on the scalper, I was looking at, okay, where is my nearest support level, right? And where is my nearest resistance level so that I can know where to take this thing. And whenever you have an area where the market has touched that area 3 or more times, that's going to confirm a very strong level of support or resistance. So here's an example. Someone on my team actually drew this as an example to help people to see it. So if you had an area down here, right, where the market was just constantly bouncing off this area, and it did this more than 3 times, or let's say up here, right? And the new levels of resistance can always become support as the market goes up, and vice versa, right? If the market goes down. But you guys want to be able to be like, okay, counting 1, 2, you know, there's a, 3, boom, this is a strong area of support. Resistance, same thing. You're like, whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, awesome. That's a good area of resistance. And really what helped me with this is just this like side note is anybody who's never really marked up charts before. Marking up charts was really difficult for me in the very beginning because I'm a very like overthinking person. Like I just felt like, man, I'm just not doing this right. Like, am I just not doing this right? Like, am I not getting it? And so what I did is I took this to TradingView, and you guys can see I actually was doing it the other day. Let me erase this. So boom. So I took this to TradingView and I changed it from candles to line, which allowed me to look at the market in a very different light. Obviously we were on the scalper, so I would change it to the 15-minute mark just so you guys can be on the same time frame. And I'm just looking for V's in the market, no bias here. I'm just looking for V's. There's no right or wrong. I'm just trying to mark up those areas where the market is having a V. That's all I'm doing, right? And I'm doing this with a brand new person too. I do this with all the new people on my team. When people start to learn to mark up charts, all I have them do is mark up V's in the market. And you can do this for any pair, Bitcoin, Ethereum, to make sure that you're finding those strong levels of support and resistance. Okay, here, like you'll see that the market looks very, very, very different here. Like you don't even really know what the market is doing these days, to be honest, because it's just moving so aggressively. But those areas where you do see the V's, those are the areas that you want to mark up and use those as strong levels of support and resistance. Okay. Can this be applied on any time frame? Any time frame you can do this, and you can do this on any pair. And that's what's really cool is I do this whether I'm trading US 30 or whether I'm trading Bitcoin on the scalper. Like I'm marking up support and resistance and making sure that I know my levels of the strong resistance levels and strong support levels before I go into any strategy. And for all of you guys that are on here and you really want to build this thing and be able to help people really make money, you have to remember that our brains don't work the same that the educators' brains work, right? The educators have become unconsciously competent of teaching us how to do these things they could do it with their eyes closed. And the brand new person can't. So you have to break things down very simply. And that's why before I even talk about EMAs or super trends, I talk to people about just finding areas where the market has touched multiple times. And you'd be surprised for the brand new person being able to mark up a chart first day and do that and be able to see like, hey, there's just tops and bottoms in the market and your goal is to find them. They become really, really excited to actually be on this journey. So make it make sense, make it simple, guys. Identifying your nearest support and resistance is really basic, but it's really important for this strategy. Now, step 4 is your super trend. Okay, so here, if you guys don't know how to turn your super trend on, just screenshot this or copy it right now while you're on the call. If you are selling, the super trend has to be above the red. Okay, it has to be above and red, I'm sorry. And the super trend has to be below and green. And it's really important that we all put the super trend on our chart so that we can really perfect this strategy. I'm gonna give you guys a very like honest confession is I didn't use the super trend or the EMA line until about 2 or 3 months ago when they relaunched Swipecoin, because Swipecoin's steps used to be a little bit different. And for me, like I couldn't keep up with all the steps initially because I was brand new, that I was like, I'm just looking for the arrow and the break and close. And I had a lot of success like that. Now, mind you, I'm not going to be 100% profitable. I'm not going to be as profitable without the super trend and the EMA, but it was more so like I was trying to be a very basic trader and do what's like naked trading. Like I was trying to just use support, resistance, trend lines, and the confirmation from the scalper of the arrow and the break and close. That's all I was doing. The super trend, the EMA, is going to make you more profitable. It's going to help you essentially in the market to be able to really have those extra confirmations that are going to make you even that much better. So I'm going to send this entire training to you guys. I'm going to send this the slides and stuff that I've created to you guys sort of as like a study guide. But we're going to go back really quick to the SwipeCoin scalper before we wrap this up. And then of course, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. But okay, so this is a position on Ethereum. Let's do the same thing on Bitcoin just for practice purposes, okay? And we're going to pretend that this is still valid to take. Obviously, the train has left without us. We're going to pretend that it hadn't, okay? So once again, it's calling out a buy, right? So our first step was really just to determine, what are we doing? We're buying it, okay? There's a blue arrow, easy. Did we get this break and close in structure? So did we get this break and close in structure? We did. So let me zoom this in. And I'm someone that likes to look very, very closely. So once again, it's crazy how closely Bitcoin and Ethereum move together. Remember that little candle that was peeking out on Ethereum? We got the same guy right here on Bitcoin. So this could have given you the confirmation to get in for this trade. However, I'm someone that waits for like a big old candle like this to give me that confirmation. Mind you, if you would have got in earlier, you could have caught the move faster and it would have been a better move. But since we're calling out a buy, are we using the short position or the long position here, guys, to figure out our risk to reward? Long. Okay. Ooh, easy. And then, okay, wait, there was a, can this be applied on time frame? Yes. The 30 to 50 pip stop loss you put is similar as Sean says 300 pips. Sean says 300 pips. I'm using this like a scalper. I was in a training with Nick Gomez once, and he's like, look, maximum, I'm using 100 pips on the scalper because I'm looking to get a fast move. And so for me, it's crazy. Like maximum for me, I think the biggest stop loss I've ever put is 100 pips, like max for sure on a scalper. 300 pips is a big loss. But it's crypto, so it's very different. It sounds scary to put your stop loss at 50 to 100 pips. What size do you use in the account of 10,000? So I'm going to show you right now, actually, how do I use the risk to reward, Christina. But also remember, guys, if you're getting a pullback, right? If you're getting a lot of down draw and the market drops lower and it takes you out on your 50 to 100 pip stop loss, remember that, as a lot of people will say, the market needs room to breathe. My mentality is I could just get in again if I got taken out and have a better entry. That's really my mentality on it. And I know that's not what everybody loves to hear, but I'm not personally looking to be in major down draw with my account, especially if you have like a funded account. So let's do this again. Let's do the long position. Okay. All right. So how much percent do you risk per trade? 1% max, 0.5% usually. And I'll go over how I actually determine my risk to reward with you guys. I'm going to give you guys a little sauce on risk management. Okay, so I'm going to look at this on a line chart. Okay, I'm going to look for the last area of support, which I would say would be around this area. It's not a very distinct, very sharp V in the market, but we got one right here. Okay, let's see. How many pips would this be? It's about 50 pips. Okay, now mind you, some of you guys are like, what? 50 pips? Doesn't seem like enough. You want to risk more. But look at the scalper. If I would have put this 50 pip stop loss, right? This is actually an area of resistance. Let's look in the past. Always want to look left to know what's going to happen right. So, it's crazy. Look at where I, without even looking in the left, look at where I put my take profit, 125 pips. And what happened when I zoomed out? It's just funny how that works. Boom, area of resistance. Does everybody see why that was the area of resistance? You definitely could have went for something lower over here if you wanted to, but I'm looking to get a little bag. I'm looking to make like 100 pips. So let's say you took it like here. Let's see how many pips that would be. 70 pip gain for a 50 pip stop loss. Not my cup of tea. Okay, so here's 123 pip gain for a 56 pip stop loss. So at this point, what I'm doing, right, because I know a lot of you guys are interested in utilizing the funded accounts. I have a rule, and this is the reason I've been able to be profitable, specifically in the last year, more than the last 2 years. My first year trading, I was very like out of sight, out of mind, didn't know my risk going into things. And we can all agree that when you don't know how much you could potentially lose, there's a lot of panic when you get into deep down draw. And so what I use is this website. I would love for all of you guys to use this website as well. And let's say I have a $10,000 account. Let's say I have a funded account. Your account leverage on your funded accounts is always 100. Okay. And your risk percent is up to you, but I never like to risk more than 1% per trade. That's even very aggressive. If you're someone that's like trying to risk more, like max two for sure. Okay, so let's say crypto is what you're trading. You'll then put what you're trading, so BTC USD. And what I love is now it's going to ask you for an entry price, a stop loss, and a take profit. Okay, so it's determining that I'm entering here. So hold on 1 second. Let me just give it a random stop loss and take profit just for example purposes. So 35 to, this is not an active trade, family. If anybody takes it and makes money from it, that's awesome, but I'm not recommending that. Okay, 35, let's see, 30373. So essentially what I'm doing every trade is I'm coming over here and I'm writing whatever my stop loss was, 3030, I think I forgot it. 30347, that works. Every trade I do this. I know this for you guys are like, what? Every trade? 33187. Okay. So if this was my risk to reward, if this was my take profit versus my stop loss, right? I'm then gonna, if I was buying it, I'm gonna hit long, and then I'm gonna determine my risk to reward, and it's gonna calculate what my position size should be for me to risk 2% on my account. Okay. So, there you go. Boom. Okay. So it's telling me that I should be using a 0.63 position size. And if I lose the trade, I'm going to lose 200 bucks, which is 2% of my $10,000, 2% of my account. But if I win the trade, I could potentially make $1,600. Somebody in the, 1% is aggressive. Yeah, 1% is aggressive, because you have to remember, people are saying not to risk more than 3 to 5% of your account on a daily. If you made 3 to 5% of your account, like, it's different than if you lose it. And on a funded account, if any of you guys are doing the funded challenges, look at what the first rule is on the rules. It says what? It says not more than 5% daily drawdown. So if we shouldn't be losing more than 5% to actually, if you have more than 5% daily drawdown, you lose your account. If your account overall loses more than 12%, you lose your account. So it's really, really important that you are conservative and you have a low risk, high reward. Meaning, guys, if there are trades that you're taking with like a 10 pip stop loss, by all means, you can risk more. But if you're risking, some of you guys were asking me about a 300 pip stop loss, like 300 pips, like that would be the max I would go, right? So for my funded account, I'm doing 2% max. At break even, I'm looking anytime I'm in about 55 to 65 pips of profit. My goal on my funded account is to take 1%, just take 1% of a profit. You know, a lot of times, how many times have you been in crazy profits and you didn't close any of your position and you didn't even take 1% gain? You took 0% gain. You know what I mean? Like, and the reason is because you have that moment in your mind where you're like, should I break even? Should I take money? Should I take my profit? Should I exit? So my rules, okay, you take 1% gain after 1 to risk reward with the 2% profit. I only go 1 to 2 risk reward minimum. So I'll do 1 to 2 risk reward minimum. And once I've gained 1%, I will withdraw. I will close out 1% of partials. Yeah. Remember guys, compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. You got to understand it to gain it. If you're not compounding and you're just recycling your money, you know what I mean? Like trading isn't about just getting the big wins. You have to remember that profit is profit. You have to remember that compounding is compounding. So the moment that, let's say this was an area of resistance, take some profit, man. Even if you take half of a percentage, what are you waiting for? What's the number that you're waiting for? And so that's the problem, right? That's the problem with a lot of us is we don't know where we're trying to take it. And so we're just trying to keep taking it until it reverses and comes and takes our money. And for me, I got really sick and tired of doing that, you guys. And so for me, I'm gonna be honest, I've never been good at figuring out my lot size if it hadn't been with a calculator. If I wasn't using a calculator, your girl was confused. I'm like, wait. I'm like, how many pips am I? And you have to remember every currency is different. So Bitcoin is moving different than NAS is. NAS is moving $1 a pip. Bitcoin isn't, right? You have Euro USD that's moving way slower than any of the Japanese yen pairs. And for me, I just wasn't proficient enough to be able to know exactly what to do in those cases. So I 100%, the reason that I was able to pass my funded challenge and get the funded account, the only thing that was constant was me using this calculator right here, Nash Markets. I didn't enter any trade without knowing what I was risking to what I was gaining, because correct me if I'm wrong, but if you guys have a stop loss of 200, right? $200, right? Which is 2% of your account, but you didn't know that it would stop at 200 and you're down 190, panic starts to set in. And you don't know that it's going to take you out at, a lot of people, they don't know how much money they're willing to risk. So you're $191 down and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm $191 down. Panic starts to set in. You start to get really worried and you're like, oh my gosh, should I pull out? Should I pull out? Should I get out of here? Should I get out of here? And then you get out and then guess what? 2 more pips and it reverses down and hits your take profit. But you got out early because you didn't know what you were risking versus what you were rewarding. Same thing in your take profit. Let's say you're $1,000 up and you're like, oh my gosh, like, but let's say you could potentially make 3K. You're 1,000 up and you're like, okay, I'm gonna close all of this out. Why not split up your partials, take 1%, move your stop loss and profit, and let the trade go to where it needs to go? What did I say in the very beginning? We are emotional, not logical when it comes to trading. And so we take a lot of emotional moves in the market that cause you to lose. The way for me to take emotions out of it was rules for myself that I told myself for my funded account. I wasn't going to ever risk more than 1% because you can't be in more than 5% drawdown. So people on my team, they're like, Mandy, like, that's too conservative. Like, I risk 3%. I'm like, okay, well, you only better be taking 1 trade a day. So for me, I'm risking 1% because I'm taking maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 trades. And then I could risk a total of 3% a day with multiple trades, not just one opportunity. So it's very important that when you guys are using SwipeCoin, when you're using the scalper, that you look for support and resistance levels, that you make it very basic for your newest person, that you try to be a little bit more conservative. If you're not, remember I said 100 pip stop loss. So even for this trade, if you guys wanted 100 pips, like, it's a lot of down draw for me, but you know, I'm someone, you guys will learn this about me. I'm someone that those trades that you see that go into 2 pips of down draw and then go the opposite direction, those are the trades I'm taking, baby. I'd rather take that setup a million times than be in significant down draw where I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to lose my account. I can't trade for the rest of the day. And so this is you know, if I was going for 100 pip stop loss on this setup, best believe that for me at least, I would have been looking to gain a little bit more, because once again, I'm a 1 to 2 risk to reward trader. Like if I'm risking 50 pips, then I'm making 100. So I hope that this helps you guys. I'm gonna definitely get over the training that I went over with you guys. I really would suggest everybody that's on here to go through My Forex Funds or the FTMO funded account and read the rules. You have to realize that these rules are put into play because this is what's going to help you to become, it's not just so you can pass the challenge. The point of passing the 2 phases when you become a funded trader is so that you can learn the proper way to understand risk management. I've talked to people like Wealthy Pips, Justin Saini, Nick Gomez himself, and these people understand to minimize risk and maximize reward. They understand that you're not going to make your monthly salary in one trade. I mean, you can, but why put your account at that risk? You know, 5% daily drawdown is a great way for you to train yourself not to go overboard with risking. And if you know what you're risking versus what you're looking to gain by using Nash markets from the very, very beginning, you'll be able to get to where I've gotten and get a funded account, man. The funded accounts are going to help you so much more. And they're going to help you to really, like, you know, be able to maximize what you can do here. He said, Mandy, if price leaves the break and close and you missed it, do you wait for the retest on the zone or you move on to the next setup? I'll wait for the retest on the zone. But I'll be honest, sometimes when I've done that, I've not had the best luck. Like I've waited for the retest on the zone and then it comes back and then tanks off. And that's why I like to have more conservative stop losses so it'll get me out of there before the scalper calls out something new. You'll see too, there are nights where the scalper goes, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And that can be very confusing, you know, for us, but patience pays. So if it does leave from the break and close and I miss it, I'm waiting for the retest or I'm waiting for a bit better entry. Sometimes like a week ago, Ethereum, it hit the break and close. The 15-minute candle closed, another 15-minute candle formed, and then it had some crazy drawdown. And I was like, okay, this is a better entry. And I did get in it and I was able to be profitable. But some people that I was with, they didn't put a take profit. And so the market ended up going into crazy into profit and then reversing and hitting their stop loss. So always put a take profit and a stop loss, guys. For the retest, do you want to see something on price action before entering or just enter on the retest? I'm looking to enter on the retest and I'm not waiting for something specific to happen. I'm more so looking in the past at, was that area that it retested a strong area of support or a resistance? That's all I'm really looking for. Yeah. Hopefully this helped you guys. I do have another call that starts in 2 minutes. I'm going to send you my slides. I'm always happy to do things like this with you guys. And I'm really hoping that this gave you guys some value. So if you guys have any questions specifically for me, I do have a new Instagram name. It's official Mandy Rose. I changed it because of all these crazy scammers. So there's no longer any underscores in my name. But if you guys ever want to reach out to me, or hey, if you took a little video or whatever, you want to tag me in your post, I'm happy to repost you guys and also just to help you. One team, one dream. So I'm excited for you guys. The scalper can really be, it's a life-changing thing. I'd love to see everybody funded. If you need anything or have any questions, feel free to reach out, but I'm going to pass it back to you. And thank you guys so much for having me on the call. Do I need to make you host so that you can, okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. It's all you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mandy. That was amazing. Guys, type chairwoman in the chat for Mandy and let's go. Παιδιά, καλό βράδυ. Ο Θεός μαζί σας. Τα λέμε στην κορυφή. Καλή συνέχεια.